What is good, Defenders Nation? Good morning. It is 12:22 in the morning on Thursday, May 18th, and this is a fun one for us. You are listening to the most LAFC podcast on earth, and this is our 250th episode. You probably know my voice. I'm your friendly neighborhood scarf, J.R. Liebert, here in beautiful Lawndale, California, in front of the world-famous Scarf Wall, but sitting just to my right on the interwebs in beautiful Burbank, California, somewhere nestled in world-famous Philo Monster Studios, is not just Hello Kitty, but one Christian Philly Philemon.
Hello, Los Angeles. Hello, fans of Major League Soccer. Hello, lovers of the beautiful game. And of course, more importantly, hello to the millions
and millions
of Defenders of the Bank listeners. This, yes, is episode 250. A milestone episode for us, if you will. Crazy about us reaching this mark. But I don't feel all that celebratory today. We have stuff to talk about, and I don't want this to be a self-indulgent, all about us pod. It's a cool accomplishment. Only one other podcast in our pod fam has done so, and that is Heart of LAFC. That is closely approaching the 300 mark. And a big shout out to our buddy Tony over there, who's been with them for 100 episodes. Awesome accomplishment for Tony. Give Heart of LAFC a listen. And obviously, all the other amazing podcasts in this LAFC pod fam. But what should have been a jovial night turned out to be, well, a not so jovial night. Like, it's fine. No need to concern yourselves, but there's something empty about having a game in which you leave with a tie when you have a win and you're expecting a win. It's just not something I want to celebrate, at least not now. Maybe as we go through this podcast and exercise the demons, yes, but Scarf, congrats to us for 250, but man, we just still got so much to talk about tonight.
Listen, we do have a ton to talk about, my friend, but look, the bottom line is this. We're in our third minute of this episode. That would be 15,806 minutes of episodes thus far. In case you're wondering, 263 hours and 20 minutes, 27 different interview subjects, over 100 games broken down. I don't know how many One More Sleeps we've done. I think it's quite all right here in the fourth minute of this episode for us to just take a second. You got the applause button over there, and to congratulate ourselves on 250, because look, this is a labor of love and we have been working hard.
Oh, and one more. And
look,
while I know you're going to allude to our sponsor, which I'm proudly displaying here.
Yeah, nice shirt. Where'd you get it?
Well, we got it from Flex, and I just happened to put this Defenders of the Bank pin on there because you know me. I have no problem shamelessly marketing our brand and our logo. We got it on the koozie. We got it on the coaster. Our good friend Kate Corca made this for Panda back in the day. A handheld fan.
That looks like it was made great by Kate.
Oh, yeah, and for any of you who would have saw Panda and her 2019 Anthem jacket, she got it bedazzled by Kate way back then. So I'm all about the merchandising, my friend. My friendly neighborhood scarf. Pew, pew,
That's me. Absolutely. Philly Idol today?
Yeah, so if you know the song Rebel Yell,
I do.
He cried more, more, more. And that's what I wanted to see as far as goals. And more, more, more out of a couple of other players that played today. I'm thinking Rebel Yell because I want to scream because we had that game. It was a game that should have been put away early on. So when I thought of Rebel Yell, Philly Idol. There you go. And what about you? I mean, you're naming yourself after Spider-Man. Should I start calling you Scarf the Web Crawler?
I like the idea of being the friendly neighborhood Scarf. I am friendly. I live in a neighborhood and they call me the Scarf. So why not? I'll roll with that for a little bit. Something else that we should have put away a little bit earlier. Don't forget, head on over to flexpowertools.com. Flex Power Tools, the official podcast sponsor of Defenders of the Bank. And of course, the front of kit sponsor for your 2022 MLS Cup champion, Los Angeles Football Club. A big shout out to Flex and the Flex family. We love you all. Thank you. Yes, Philly.
Well, speaking of that, I just have to plug this in, obviously, for Flex, and we want to get paid. Mark this on your calendars, Defenders. On Thursday, May the 25th, from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m., a reasonable hour, which is kind of cool, in the Lowe's of Hawthorne, the address 2800 West 120th Street, Hawthorne, California, 90250. There's going to be a Flex event where there's going to be gear that gets raffled, and you'll get the opportunity to meet and greet and chat and shake hands, take photos with LAFC defender Ryan Hollingshead, who arguably got robbed of a goal today, and you could have that conversation with him then, but keep that on there. It's going to be a bunch of cool stuff. And again, May 25th, Thursday from 4 to 5. We posted about it. We'll keep reminding y'all. Hang out with Defenders. Hang out with LAFC. Hang out with Rigo from Flex. And even more importantly than all of that, hang out with Ryan Hollingshead Thursday, May the 25th.
UCLA's own Ryan Hollingshead. I believe that Lowe's in Hawthorne, according to them, it's like their first or second best performing store of all the different Lowe's that Flex has their tools in. Not so much the case for your store out there in Burbank. We got to get a meet and greet event somewhere out there in Burbank. Yeah, sorry, buddy. Again, we also just want to remind everybody that the Mauricio Facio Futsal Court fundraising effort in Southeast LA is underway. So again, please head on over to lafc.com/Mo-Facio, FASCIO. Please donate. Please donate. It would be absolutely incredible if we get that field funded and we can get some actual futsal matches played on Mo's court so that we can always honor his memory as best we can. So please, lafc.com/Mo-Facio. Look, I'm going to propose a donation today that has very little to do with LAFC. How about 18? That's 18 more teaching days I have left until the end of the school year. So if you can donate $18, head on over to lafc.com/Mo-Facio. I've got 18 as my number. I know Philly always likes to shoot high and go for the big numbers. What are you thinking today for the right number to donate to the Mo Facio Futsal Court Fund?
10, as in the number of goals that Danny Bouanga has during the regular season for Major League Soccer. 10, it's a 10.
I love it. I love it so much. All right. That's our banter in the beginning, my friend. We normally do have a This Day in LAFC History, but you know what? We're going to move forward. No This Day in LAFC History today, and we're going to blow past news and notes as well, because you know what? We've got to get into the breakdown of this match. I unfortunately don't get to deliver Philly's favorite line on this, and that's the breakdown of the beatdown, because it certainly wasn't that against Sporting Kansas City, even though we outplayed them for the majority of the match. Our Angel City Minute will tell you that their next match,
breakdown of the breakdown,
right? Their next match is Saturday, May 20th against the North Carolina Courage. So make sure you guys are tuning in for all your Angel City news at Angel City Chicks. And also, of course, we are Angel City on social media. May 20th, Saturday, against the North Carolina Courage. LAFC 2, we'll talk about them a little bit later on when we get into the lineups. But their next match is away at Real Monarchs. That's in Real Salt Lake City on Sunday, May 21st. So look, Philly, despite Sporting Kansas City's record, I was worried. I don't think we got trapped into this game, right? It's not like we took them lightly. It's not like they caught us, unaware. But I did say, despite their record, a team we needed to be wary of. They are the only club to beat LAFC twice in the regular season at home in our 6-year history. That's right. We've only lost to 8 different teams at BMO/Bank California Stadium, and only one of those 8 teams has beaten us twice. Philly, this is a club that plays us normally very, very well throughout the course of the regular season.
No, you're not wrong. And they've had an auspicious start to their 2023 MLS campaign. 14th place in the West, and last place in terms of like across the board. Team that out of 12 games, 2-7-3, not scoring a lot of goals, 8 over the course of these 12 games, allowing 16. Not great, but they did win 2 consecutive games recently within their Major League Soccer regular season. They did lose their Open Cup match to the Houston Dynamo, a team that you could argue has turned things around, where their worst loss of the season came at the hands of Seattle, where they lost 4-1. They managed to beat Seattle 3-0, clean sheet, like one of the toughest teams in the Western Conference. So you'd think that, they're having a decent run of form, but LAFC's on a trajectory to do so many tremendous things. LAFC hasn't lost to Sporting Kansas City since what were we saying? Like August of 2021.
Yep.
Sporting Kansas City, not that great of a team. Not that great of a team at all. Their leading scorer, 2 goals during the regular season. And while we're a team that leads the league and with a plus 12 goal differential, 20 goals, 8 against throughout 10 games, we have the leading scorer. We have so many great attributes going into this. Was overconfidence what nailed us? We'll talk about that. But man, I did not expect to walk out of BMO with a tie. And I don't even think we should have, but more on that later.
Yeah, look, that's something we've never done in the 9 games before we played today. So 9 games, 5 wins for LAFC, 4 losses for LAFC. This was our first tie in the series. But look, with the roster turnover with LAFC, you can almost throw previous results out the window. Only 4 LAFC players on the roster have even scored a goal in this matchup ever, all time. Only 4 that are still on the roster, but only 2 of those players have even scored for us. Carlos Vela, 2 goals. Jose Cifuentes, 1 goal. Other than that, Chiqui Palacio scoring an own goal for SKC and Ilie Sanchez scoring a goal against LAFC. Our very first match against Sporting Kansas City.
It's a PK.
2-0 loss. A 2-0 loss at Bank of California Stadium. And the second goal scored by their starting center mid, Ilie Sanchez. But Philly, we've had a fun bit of history between the two clubs. Some really fun moments over the course of our 9 matches. How about 2019? We whooped up on Sporting Kansas City 5-1 at Children's No Mercy Park. And that was the very famous Carlos Vela to Fito Zelaya goal. Everybody remembers where they were when Carlos Vela passed that ball to Fito Zelaya. The embrace heard around the world. How about 2021? We lost to them at Children's Mercy Park 2-1, and it was Kim Moon-Wan scoring the only goal of his LAFC career.
Well, we were in West Hollywood for that.
We absolutely were. And how about, who will ever forget 2022, the 2-0 win at Children's Mercy Park, where Gareth Bale getting on the score sheet for the very first time. That was after Tim Melia had to come out of the game for John Pulskamp, and he gave up 2 goals in quick succession to lose that game 2-0. So look, a lot of fun with Sporting Kansas City and the 9 matches we've played. And look, the other thing is, look, 8 goals tied for the lowest in MLS this season, but they've earned more points on the road than at home this season, Philly, coming into this. 5 points on the road, 4 points at home. But yeah, man, it's just not a good team. They were not impressive in any way, shape, or form today.
No, not at all. And we're going to dissect this and go over like things that happened and things that we think should happen, an opinion here and there. But I feel like this is something that we all kind of need to get out of our systems, because I don't think anybody really left BMO today or turned off the channel feeling awesome about the game. Now, obviously, we're not in any kind of apparel. The season's not defined by a tie against the lowly Sporting Kansas City club that we battled up against. But it's just, I think we all need to like compose ourselves, put ourselves together, and just breathe and kind of like, I don't know, like exercise these demons. Cause like, I feel like they're demons. Like most people would say you can't win them all, but you could certainly tie them. I don't know, man. Like if it was the other way around where we were down and then we came back to tie it, that's something else. But when we're leading and then we give up a tie and then we have a goal, the jubilation that occurs and then it gets called back, it just sucks, dude. And I know there's plenty of people out there that feel the same exact way I do. And I know you do as well. And we're normally jovial, lively, all this other stuff. I'm just not feeling that right now.
Look, the tough part is this, right? You and I both know that a race for something like the Supporters Shield, like we were in last year, can come down to 1 point, 2 points at any point in the season, right? A point in May is worth the same exact amount as a point in October, November, right? So the more we can stockpile these points, I completely agree. It's one of those where you'd really love to walk away with all three. Yes, we didn't lose, but it doesn't quite feel like a satisfying result. Someone who never looks satisfied, never looks happy, that would be the face of one head coach, Peter Vermes. Peter Vermes has been in and around this league forever. He is, if they had an MLS Coaches Hall of Fame, he would certainly be one of the first elected. He is a long-time head man, I believe, 16 years now, head man of Sporting Kansas City, coaching in his 450th match for Sporting Kansas City. We're celebrating 250, Philly. He's 200 up on us, man. It won't take us 16 years to get to 450, but certainly seems like a lot to get to 450, even thinking about that. Let's get into the lineups. I'll start first in the 4-3-3 that Sporting Kansas City rolls out. And a bunch of players, unfortunately, who we are used to seeing on this roster, we would not see, including goalkeeper Tim Melia, who's out with a quad injury. And there are some rumblings in Sporting Kansas City land that this might be it for the former MLS pool keeper. Tim Melia, I believe he's out of contract at the end of this season. I could be wrong, but in the research I saw, I believe he might be out of contract. So they're talking about it. I'll tell you this, John Pulskamp isn't it and Kendall McIntosh isn't it. But if Tim Melia can't stay on the pitch, that's trouble. Kyrie Shelton out with an adductor injury, Willie Agata with a tibia fracture, and Courtney Ford out with an Achilles. Tim Liebold, who was questionable coming into this, was eventually ruled out with a hamstring. So their starting 11 begins with their third keeper to start the season. I think he's now moved past John Pulskamp for number 2. That would be goalkeeper Kendall McIntosh, who's mainly been a backup in both Portland and Sporting, but he does have an LAFC tie, sort of. He won the CONCACAF U17s with the U.S. Youth National Team, and on that was both the ghost of Alejandro Guido and Kellen Acosta. So a little bit of an LAFC tie there. Defender Logan Ndembe, who, I mean, kid is absolutely fast, man. He was kind of fun to watch today. The 23-year-old Belgian in his second season with Sporting Kansas City. Defender Andreu Fontas, the former Barcelona product who played 16 matches for them, capped 120 plus times with Celta de Vigo and 100 plus now with Sporting Kansas City. Defender Danny Rosero, the Colombian center back in his first season with Sporting. He scored his first goal 3 days ago against Minnesota. And Jacob Davis, the defender, 21 years old from Michigan, got a few senior team minutes in 21 and 22, but more regular action this year. On the midfield, we have Remy Voltaire, Nemanja Radoja, and Eric Tommy. Voltaire, the French international, in his third season with Sporting. Radoja, he's a Serbian international, played in both Serbia and Spain before coming to Sporting this year. And Eric Tommy, who was my player to watch, one of their designated players, the 28-year-old German, came to Sporting midway through the season last year, and he's got 4 goals and 4 assists in 26 matches with Sporting coming into this. And where they really do butter their bread is on their front line. Their forward, Daniel Shallowy, 51 goals in 185 competitions. That is 4th all-time in Sporting Kansas City annals. 3 goals versus LAFC, the most of any player in this rivalry, the 2021 All-Star. Alan Pulido, the time-wasting designated player, the Mexican who played with Tigres, Chivas, and in Greece before coming to Sporting in 2020. And I think people would say, in and around Sporting and fans of El Tri, the Alan Pulido experience in Sporting has been nothing short of disappointing. Only 17 goals in 44 matches. And forward and captain, Johnny Soccer, Johnny Russell, he's been with Sporting since 2018. His 54 goals with the club are 3rd all-time. The former designated player, don't worry, they use one of their designated player spots for a bench player. That would be Gadi Kinda, the Israeli international, and Graham Zusi, also on the bench. We got to mention the Sporting KC icon, the MLS Hall of Famer, if we had one, 400 plus caps across all competitions for Sporting Kansas City, a U.S. men's national team legend with 55 caps, was there for the 2013 MLS Cup that Sporting KC won, a 3-time U.S. Open Cup champion, and a 7-time All-Star. That is all the players of note for one Sporting Kansas City. Philly, I'm a big fan of LAFC too, and I'm so excited to say that this lineup for LAFC, it's got a little dash of LAFC 2 in it as well.
Yeah, for sure. When you say LAFC 2, we're basically talking about a club that as a collective whole is not old enough to legally drink and hang out with us in Sunset. We'll get into that in a second. You talked about injuries going into the match, a couple of players that were questionable and out. You had Jesus David Murillo and Giorgio Chiellini. And I quote Steve Cherundolo, he said they're day to day, and Moody in particular, he said he's close. So they were.
Yeah, he didn't address Chiellini. Did you notice that? I didn't.
No, well, he did address it during like a couple of days ago, but he didn't say it. But we saw there was finally a Chiellini social media appearance. We saw the Juve LA fan club was hanging out with him. Chiellini apparently was dressed in like a chef's outfit and he was serving people. I found that kind of interesting. If you check out the LA fan club for Juventus, you'll see the photos of Chiellini there doing his thing. So at least he's out and about. We know that much. Kellen Acosta wasn't going to play today, lower extremity issue, but he seems to be fine. We walked out of the press conference later on this evening, earlier on, I guess, whichever way you want to look at it. And I saw him. We had nodded at each other, so he seemed like he was fine. Don't know what the status is, but lower extremity. And, of course, Tony Leone and Maxime Crepeau, both with a right leg scenario. We won't be seeing Maxime for a little while. And
Philly, I think if I check the Troubadour schedule, right leg scenario is opening up tonight for like yellow card or something like that.
Well, no, they played that set already. It's done. It was a half-hour set. They're an up-and-coming band, and at the Troubadour, they only get 30 minutes for that, not a full 45.
Got it.
And John McCarthy was questionable going into this game, and he did not get the start. As far as the starters are concerned, you got the veteran keeper, Eldin Jakupovic, starting in between the pipes. Backline consisting of Chiqui Palacios, Aaron Long, Daniil Maldonado, and Sergi Palencia. Midfield, we got Jose Cifuentes, Ilie Sanchez going up against his former club. And that goal you mentioned that he scored back in 2018, it came off of a PK. I will never forget that. I think I even said that to Ilie at a Loza event last season. I'm pretty sure I did remind him about that, how we didn't like him then, but we like him now. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. And then, of course, you have the German sensation himself, Timothy Tillman, who we're hoping is going to be a member of the U.S. men's national team. Up top, Carlos Vela Mahala, and the Golden Boot leader in Major League Soccer still, and he padded his stats, one Denis Bouanga. As far as the bench is concerned, Stipe Buke, and now we start, well, hold on. Stipe Buke, Mati Bogusz, Ryan Hollingshead, Abraham Romero. But if we're talking LAFC 2, which you alluded to, we've got Daniel Crisostomo, we've got Eric Dueñas, we've got Nathan Ordaz, and welcome, LAFC signed him on loan, Diego Rosales. Who is Diego Rosales, you ask? Well, that's a very good question, defenders, because I am going to address that for you right now. Diego Rosales, 17 years of age, from Southgate, California. 2021, he played 4 games with the Las Vegas Lights, a member of the LAFC Academy in 2016. And here's something like I learned that I had no clue, Scarf. And if you knew this, you're a lot more research driven than I am. January of 2020. I don't know if you could remember that time period. I try to blank out most of what happened in 2020, but
that was right before COVID shut down the world.
Exactly. At age 14, he was called to LAFC's first team for preseason camp. And then get this. He made his unofficial debut for the club January 25th in that January 25th in 2020 in that friendly against Peñarol. I had no idea. He even appeared in the second half. I had no clue. Learned this, I was just like, oh, that's pretty cool. I had no idea. Unbelievable how young he was when he did that. As a member of the Las Vegas Lights, he played 4 games, obviously, with a USL Academy contract. He made his debut. This is kind of funny, the ties to that. His professional debut against Los Gros, Galaxy 2, when he subbed on in the 66th minute to replace everyone's favorite former LAFC player, Raheem Edwards. Also attached to Gross Galaxy, if you want to call it that. So that's the story with Diego Rosales. We would not see him on the pitch this evening, but to be a member of the 18 at 17 years of age, pretty darn cool, regardless of how long this loan lasts, whatever. Like, that's an incredible accomplishment. So kudos to you, Diego Rosales. And that rounds out your LAFC starting lineup and the bench.
Yeah, I just want to remind everybody, if you haven't been able to get out to Cal State Fullerton over to Titan Stadium to check out this club, LAFC2, they are incredibly fun to watch. Lots of young kids. I mean, most of these players, they're 16, 17, 18, 19, flying around the pitch, and they're getting better, man. If you watch that game against Monterey Bay, this is what we have to look forward to. They stepped up. An absolutely incredible, fun match to watch there against Monterey Bay, and we've seen a lot of good action over at Titan Stadium. So come on out, Titan Stadium, LAFC2 on the campus of Cal State Fullerton. Super fun to watch. Philly, I thought Peter Vermes and his chocolate brown suit that he was wearing to celebrate 450 caps, or I guess 450 coaching caps for Sporting Kansas City would be the best thing I saw pre-match, but certainly not. I want to take a quick second to talk about our honorary Falconer, Brandon Say. Brandon Say is Brandon Say. He is the 26-year-old who had helped subdue the gunman in Monterey Park, who unfortunately had already killed 11 and injured 10 when Brandon Say wrestled a MAC-10 away from this man who was all set to carry out a second act of hate against another dance club. He had shot up one already, was on his way to a second, when, I don't know, Brandon simply saw a guy wielding a MAC-10 and said, not on my watch. 26 years old. He wants to use his newfound celebrity as a platform. And I've got to say this, Brandon, hopefully you never have to buy a beverage in your life ever again. The word hero is thrown around quite a bit, especially in the world of sports and just in general. It's a very overused, watered down word. There is no better word to describe Brandon Say, the 26-year-old. There's no better word to me than hero. And I am, and I know, Philly, you feel the same way, so incredibly honored to have even been in the same building and for him to have been our honorary Falconer tonight.
I mean, without a doubt. I mean, we keep referring to so many different people as legends and rock stars and badasses, but Brandon truly is all of those and some. We all think we're tough. We all think like we can like really face and battle adversity in our heads. But when push comes to shove, I don't know how I would react if I saw a guy wielding a semi-automatic weapon. I have no idea whether I would freeze, whether I would act. I don't know. And quite honestly, I hope I never have to find out. I hope none of you have to ever find that out. But this young man, this 26-year-old, had the intestinal fortitude to thwart off this attacker. And he did such a tremendous thing, because who knows how many more lives could have been saved. I normally don't pay attention often when it comes to like who the honorary Falconer is. Yeah. I'm busy getting my notes ready, moving around. But when I learned that it was this kid from Monterey Park, blew my mind. I mean, such a humbling person, like you said, to be around. That is a badass, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, freaking A, like, incredible. Brandon, if you listen to this or if somebody passes word to you, we just want to say you are incredible. We're not worthy, the Wayne's World style. Thank you for what you did. It's tremendous act of courage.
Absolutely incredible. Again, just an honor to be in the same building as Brandon. There's no real smooth segue to get into talking about the match. So we're just going to get on with it. The smoothest thing we saw was LAFC's play in about that third minute, where we had a beautiful series of passes. So my AirPods, they are just moving all around today. I have no idea what's going on. If you're watching,
you've got big ear canals.
I actually have small ear canals. I was born several weeks, actually like 9 weeks, I believe, premature. And the ear canals were actually like one of the last things to develop. My parents know I had problems with my ears all throughout my life. I had tubes like 6 times, all kinds of weird stuff going on in my ear canals. And I don't know why, man, but my AirPods are just not loving me right now. But those are scarf problems. Don't worry. I'll take care of that. In the 3rd minute, an absolutely beautiful series of passes at the top of the box finds Cheeky Palacios. His shot from the left is high, but man, Philly, we come busting out of the gates, not only with some beautiful passes, but dude, we brought our bruising boots on. We had a lot of fouls in this match, and especially first 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 minutes in this match. It was just foul by LAFC after foul by LAFC.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong about that. And we had a couple of decent opportunities. Johnny Scotch, as I like to call him, or Johnny Soccer, as you call him, had a great corner in the 8th minute on the money, but play broken up. But that led to a nice counter where Jose Cifuentes had an absolutely beautiful ball, getting past his defender and connecting, trying to connect, I should say, with Denny Bouanga, but he had a bit too much mustard on that. Couple of nice plays, and I had my note. Peter Vermes had a absolute fire suit. But it didn't take long, Scarf, despite the little cheeky fouls. It didn't take long for LAFC to get on the boards and to punch this freaking team in the face quickly. The play sets up like this. You have Palencia with a brilliant pass to Mahala from the midfield, long-range ball. He gets around Taxi Fontas, has a great look into Denny Bouanga, and Kawa Bouanga, as you would say, number 99, punches one past McIntosh. Denny Bouanga is an assassin, a cold-hearted killer, and just like that, we get on the boards 1-0 LAFC, and the bank is jovial at this point.
Yeah, first of all, Sporting Kansas City did not just trade for Taxi Fontas. That was Andreu Fontas.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Like I don't know what Taxi is just. Yeah, all right.
No, look, hey, two guys share the same last name, very different teams, very different positions, but
and a very unique last name, by the way.
Absolutely.
How many Fontases do we really have? I mean, it's not like Smith.
Well, I mean, look, for all of the Fontases out there that are listening, we care about you. We love you each equally. Thank you so much for listening. Look, Philly does not. It all started with an Eldin Jakupovic pass to Sergei Palencia on the wing, and I literally looked at Nina as we were watching the play develop, and I was like, what is he doing with the ball? Why is he holding it so long? Get that ball out of there. Let's go. And then the play happens, and she looks at me and she goes, he was doing that. He was doing that. So I got shut up real quick by Eldin Jakupovic, Sergei Palencia, Mahala Opoku, and then, of course, by one, Denny Bouanga. Look, kind of a soft goal, right? It goes 5-hole. It's a ball that Kendall McIntosh probably feels like he should have saved. But I guess one soft goal kind of deserves another. In the 20th minute, I'm yelling at Sifu to clear the damn ball. I was yelling at Sifu to clear that ball. Unfortunately, tried to do a little bit too much. The ball gets recycled back by Sporting Kansas City. Johnny Russell near-ish the top of the box, and he takes it onto his left foot, moving to his left, and just kind of turns and fires. I don't know. I don't know if Maxime Crepeau or John McCarthy get to that ball. I'd like to think they do, and I'd like to think that if you ask Eldin Jakupovic to a man, like, you think you should have got that one? I have a feeling he's going to say yes. It kind of went 5-hole, right? Like in an awkward angle, awkward spot, but one that I think Eldin and definitely the LAFC faithful might feel probably should have got to that one.
You're not wrong. And the play started essentially with Palencia trying to connect with Cifuentes. But Ndenbe was there, and that guy had a pretty good game. He takes the ball away, strips it, passes it on over to Polito. When he wasn't on the ground crying like a little you-know-what, he was actually connecting some pretty good passes. He finds Walter, who then finds Johnny Russell, and he just takes such a nice stroll from one end of the box to the other, threads in between a couple of our defenders. I had the note right here. Whatever. I guess it doesn't matter. I'll get back. Oh, yeah. He threads it in between Palencia and Aaron Long. I don't know why it took me forever to figure that out. It's late. What can I say? But just like that, we're tied. 1-1. And it's disappointing at this point because we had a couple of opportunities prior to that 20th minute where I do feel that we should have won the game there. That 14th minute, right after Danny scores a goal, Mahala forces a turnover and gets a nice look at McIntosh, where his save attempt prior was more Trash. At this point, he was solid McIntosh. Mahala misses there. And then clearly, Denis Bouanga's got a little bit of the captain in him because in that 18th minute, Scarf, Cifuentes, and I know we're going to talk about him, like there were so many frustrating plays with Sifu, but he had a phenomenal pass into Denny. And he had a couple of phenomenal passes at that point. And Denny absolutely smashes the hell out of the ball. He misses, but he takes off a piece of the electronic Captain Morgan sign. I've got a photo. I guess I didn't upload it here. Silly me, but I'll post it on Defenders. So clearly, Denny has a little bit of the captain in him. At that point, LAFC, there's blood in the water, Scarf. There's blood in the waters of BMO Stadium. That was the point where we should have ended the game altogether. Mahala made a great play, and McIntosh made a great save. Denny should have converted on that. And 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 times, in this case, 9 out of 10, he normally would have. But at the very least, we should have been up 2-0 at this point because we had Sporting Kansas City on the ropes. And it sucks that we had this opportunity where we could have closed things out because the minute that Johnny Russell ties the game, LAFC's entire structure changes up until the start of the second half.
And look, 1-1, spoiler alert, match ended 1-1. We're going to break down some plays, but 20 minutes in, we got all the scoring we would get in an LAFC match. That's something we don't see very often. That's for sure. Look, it kind of went according to plan if you're LAFC for every other moment in the match up until really that one moment in the 20th. Everything else, 7 minutes of stoppage, 1 minute of stoppage. So you're looking at 98 total minutes, and LAFC controls all but maybe 15, 20, 30 seconds of it. You and I talked about it over and over and over again, how the lack of a threatening attack from Sporting Kansas City kind of lulled LAFC into this false sense of security, maybe a little bit of sleep. I don't know. I do credit LAFC for trying to respond. 22nd minute, Denis Bouanga makes that run up the left-hand side and absolutely lays into one. His shot does come off of Kendall McIntosh, but unfortunately, everybody for LAFC, and we did have 2 or 3 other free runners going after it, everybody overran the ball. That's how hard the rebound was coming off of McIntosh. And unfortunately, everybody who overran it couldn't get a foot back on it. So they're able to clear. I thought that even in the 23rd minute, we kept that high press on. 24th minute, we're at corner after corner in these couple of minutes. And I really did think we were trying to put the pressure right back on, trying to get one right back. Unfortunately, it wasn't going to be.
No. I got to credit a defensive play by Cheeky Palacios, Scarf. There was a nice run in between Polito and Shallowy that Cheeky broke up. So the defense was starting to help us. This is another play, though, where Johnny Russell, another stroll into the box, which sucks. 28th minute. This could have been one of those highlight goals. Then he tries to get a little cheeky and chips one high, thinking that he's going to catch McIntosh sleeping, but it just goes wide to Denny's left. Nothing goes on there. And where we absolutely led in this game, and that obviously changed things tactically, especially in the second half, 29th minute, the former member of Sporting Kansas City, Ilie Sanchez, gets a really, really soft yellow card. Soft as a baby's bum. I mean, I can't believe that was called for yellow, but if Ilie's not going to contest, Ilie's a gentleman. He wouldn't do that anyway. But if he's not going to get frustrated about the call, who am I to judge? It's sitting all the way in Founders Club where they're about this big from my vantage point. But that's the start of a yellow card. And you knew Ilie when he came out. Tactically, he's riding on one yellow. You don't want him to potentially gain a second. Especially in a game in which LAFC was getting chippy with their fouls. So, that's the story up until that point going into the 30th minute.
Yeah, look, I didn't really have a whole lot to add for the entire rest of the half, to be honest. Look, I thought it was a beautiful cross by Sergi Palencia in the 36th minute, but Denis Bouanga put it well high. You talked about a soft yellow maybe for Ilie Sanchez. Definitely not a soft yellow for Cheeky Palacios there in the 40th minute. I just thought about, Karate Kid sweep the leg, Johnny. I mean, that was Cheeky took him out from behind on a late tackle after he had already been warned. And by the way, put his hand up to say, my bad on that foul. It was in the 7th minute or so when he takes out a guy in pretty much the same fashion that he did there in the 40th. Completely deserved the yellow. We go into the half after a minute of stoppage time, 1-1. And look, something that Steve kind of alluded to in the post-game press conference was they had to talk about a few things at halftime. And I think that was Steve's very nice way of saying that he tried to light a fire under those guys after a very lackluster first half.
Yeah, no, Steve always just so chill. We could all learn a thing from Steve. I want to talk about a couple of things from his press conference, like when we get to that point, that kind of made an impact on me and my thought process. But going into the half stats, you usually like to hear the stats. We're up 6-5 on shots, on target 3-1. SKC batting 1,000 at this point. 1 shot on target, 1 goal. LAFC batting 333. Hall of Fame stats, but still, whatever, tied. Possession relatively even. Fouls, we certainly had a lot, 9 to their 3, and then we had 2 yellow cards, the one on Ilie and the one on Cheeky. And going into the locker room, I'm thinking this way. The more you allow Sporting Kansas City in this game, the more confident they're going to feel. They're already riding high on the fact that they've won 2 consecutive games. That's going to do wonders for your confidence because now you're riding somewhat of a winning streak. The more time we allowed them to feel like they were in this game, the worse it was going to be. And I stand by the fact that we should have put them away early. Denny, a couple of great opportunities. Mahala, a great opportunity. It just didn't convert for us. And if you have your opportunities and you can't connect, you end up in these situations. And then you're going to end up in situations where you leave the game in the hands of the officials. And as we've said time and time again, pro. And the reason I say pro, because if you focus in on the badges of the officials, it says pro. That is the organization. But I lovingly refer to that as an acronym for pretty rancid officiating. No issues with it within the first 45 minutes, other than those soft-ass yellow cards. Well, not the one on Ilie, but now we start to get a point where the officials start to have an impact on the game, in particular later on. But that's the thing. We bit the guppy, the black and gold great white shark that was floating around BMO Stadium. Bit the guppy. We just didn't make them bleed enough. And the fact that they were able to heal so quickly got themselves back. We needed to be a little more shark-like in this game.
And look, we come out in the second half and we were on the attack again. I thought we dominated most of the first 10 minutes of play to come out of the locker room. We almost had an own goal by Sporting Kansas City, trying to clear it back up over his own net, it was kind of hard to see what happened. But if not for Kendall McIntosh kind of punching that ball over the bar, got a little touch on it, it was almost an own goal. We were almost up 2-1 without even really having to do a whole lot. And then just 2 minutes later, again, beautiful passing in and around the box. LAFC coming in hot, but Sergei had to come all the way back and play the ball wide. His cross comes out to Sifu. And Sifu got a lot on it. Sure, Kendall McIntosh, very unsure of himself, almost spilled it. Carlos Vela was crashing towards the net to try and poach one there, but had to pull up just at the last second. And look, we had 2 more corners just a couple of minutes after that. LAFC kind of finding their footing here, and we thought, okay, we're starting to dominate play again. We're starting to do what we did in the start of the first half, now here in the start of the second half. Good things were going to come, right? Denny got one. So now we're back in, as Vin Scully used to say, back in the catbird seat, putting all the pressure on. Unfortunately, it just wasn't meant to be.
No. One noted play that I took a note in that's not going to appear on the stat sheet. If you happen to go back during the game after you listen to the podcast, focus in around the 53rd minute. Something that stuck out to me was how Denny Bouanga stripped Eric Tommy. I mean, what a gangster play. I have so much there's just so many great things you could say about Denny Bouanga. Yes, he's a stone cold killer when it comes to finding the back of the net. But the guy plays his heart out. He loves to play. What he said, answering your question in the press conference, I loved it. Something that we're going to we have to talk about. But when he strips Tommy, this guy's playing defense. He's running around. He's connecting with his teammates. if he sticks around with us for a while, I do think he's going to go down as the greatest player we've had at LAFC, up there with the Carlos Velas and the Diego Rossis.
I mean, that's quite high praise for sure. He is doing everything he needs to do here in 2023 so far, including in the 54th minute, some great 1v1 defending as he was forced to come all the way back, gets the turnover on the steal. Beautiful defending by Denis Bouanga. You got Denis Bouanga defending, and now you got Carlos Vela boxing out like your boy Patrick Ewing used to do back in the day at the top of the box there. It almost looked like he was at the top of the key, right? They got that semicircle right in front of the 18-yard box. Carlos Vela boxing out leads to a free kick there in the half circle as he was fouled from behind. And Carlos with a soft touch, but not soft enough, unfortunately. Tried to chip the keeper and go top bins. Look, that's a tough one for even 2019 Carlos Vela to put away, but Carlos has been a little off his game this season and hasn't quite found the back of the net as much as we would have wanted him to. A good effort, but unfortunately not what we needed. And Philly, speaking of not what we needed, Aaron Long going down, maybe it was a cramp. I know you're going to talk about, Steve alluded to something in the press conference, but in the 57th minute, Aaron Long is down and subbed out of the match.
Precautionary. That's exactly what Steve said in the press conference. It was precautionary. Aaron Long is not injured. And Steve was point blank about that. He's not going to walk us down the path of false belief. He said it was precautionary. No big deal. I mean, these kids have played 16, 17, 18 games in a very short period of time. We're a third of the way into the season, and it seems like we've played more than half of the 60 freaking games that we have on the schedule. We don't even know what League's Cup looks like yet, which is kind of crazy to me. So don't fear. Obviously, we're still waiting gingerly on Moody and Chiellini, but Aaron Long was precautionary. That is why he came out.
Yeah, and look, I want to say something too about Aaron Long. It was a little bit of a slow start for Aaron Long, maybe even some difficulty cracking the lineup if you've got a healthy Giorgio Chiellini and Jesus Murillo. But over these last 10 games or so, it's no doubt in my mind that Aaron Long has been the best defender that we have had. I'm going to bring up a name and I'm going to bring up a quality and a trait that I think is really, really important. He wins balls like only Walker Zimmerman or Mamadou Fall used to for this club. He gets up there, challenges for aerials, and his timing is solid. His jump is always solid. He is very, very good in the air, a skill that, look, maybe he's learning a little bit from Chiellini. Hell, maybe he was always this good. It's not like he's a Johnny-come-lately to Major League Soccer. He's been one of the better center backs in Major League Soccer now for 8-10 years or so. But to see it in person and see him develop into who he has developed into on that back line, especially how much we've needed him to with Chiellini and then Murillo, both picking up knocks at different points throughout the season. Aaron Long has been a revelation.
I mean, he has, and he's worth the $1.2 million in guaranteed compensation that LAFC pays him. And by the way, the MLSPA revealed all the salaries for players. And we could have a conversation about that at some point in the end, or we do it on another pod. I don't know. But Aaron Long, not a surprise why he's earning the kind of money that he's making, because he's solid. I know there was a lot of people that weren't necessarily thrilled at the fact that he signed with LAFC, and I don't really have any idea why. The guy is solid, and he's proven that time and time again. We would have been a lot shakier with a lot of holes if it wasn't for the likes of Aaron Long, especially with Moody and Chiellini out.
How do we get that Xherdan Shaqiri money, man? We got to find a way to
you
get
and
that.
we won't be able to from our athletic prowess. That's for sure. We would have to get more sponsorship money.
that is certainly true. Ryan Hollingshead coming on for Aaron Long there in the 58th minute, and the old man in KC, Graham Zusi, coming into the match at the 60th minute. Both Graham Zusi and Gadi Kinda coming on for Jack Davis and Eric Tommy. Look, what you get out of Graham Zusi, it might only be for 30, 40 minutes at a time now, but you just get a guy he's just made of oak. He is so much fun to watch out there. doing old man YMCA on the basketball court kind of things, right? Like all of a sudden you look up, dude's got 22 and 10 and he's elbowed you in the ribs 7 times and you're spinning around wondering what was going on. Dude's wearing a headband, short shorts, and he's 52 years old. Absolutely love. I went all the way down. I went all the way down the rabbit hole, right? But no, dude, Graham Zusi, you got to respect a guy who has plied his trade in the same city and who has been a U.S. men's national team legend. Just a player who, look, it's going to be fun to say, right? We got to watch Graham Zusi play over the course of 10 matches against this club now so far, 10 of 400 plus matches for Sporting Kansas City. I care less about Gadi Kinda, but it's kind of fun to watch Graham Zusi out there.
No, I agree. Speaking of veterans, Eldin Jakupovic had a couple of really great plays in the game. 65th minute, Daniel Shalhoui, the leading scorer on this team and the leading assist man, gets himself a nice clean look. And there are a couple of nice clean looks that Sporting Kansas City caught at Eldin. But in this case, Eldin punches it out. And from what we're witnessing on the sideline moving forward, youngsters are about to come in. A lot of youngsters, a lot of kids who can't fully, properly, and legally enjoy the LA nightlife. 66th minute, we got Stipe Buke, Mati Bogusz, Eric Dueñas coming in for the likes of Carlos Vela, Ilie Sanchez, who's already riding a yellow card, and Mahala, who I would say that was pretty solid and a couple of plays within this game. And so that's interesting. We're going to run the lights off of Sporting Kansas City with these young bucks. And I don't know about you. I felt a little nervous watching these young kids come in, but there's something about them when they're out on the pitch doing their thing and running the way they are. In particular, Bogusz, he looks like he's just gliding. He looks like he's ice skating on grass, which is just fascinating. He's that confident. But the youngsters are getting in, and something you're really excited about. You get to see more from a couple of the LAFC 2 players.
Yeah, man.
I'm more forward than that.
Absolutely. I'm all in on LAFC 2. And the reason why we mentioned that, obviously, not necessarily for Mate Bogusz or Stipe Buke, but Eric Dueñas, who has really come into his own with LAFC 2. We're going to hear from Julian Gaines at some point this season. I believe we're already starting to hear from guys like Nathan Ordaz. Obviously, Christian Torres, another player that's getting solid minutes for LAFC 2. Look, Noah Dollenmayer, who I think that's more of an attritional move than anything else. I don't know that Noah's done a whole ton to warrant a call-up yet to the big club, but it's just so cool to see immediately the dividends paying off for, I guess it's not immediately, right? We've had the academy since 2014. Eric Dueñas has been a part of this since 2014. I mean, it's just incredible to think about it.
Same with Diego Rosales.
Yeah, look, it's really fun to watch these young kids. And look, I know, had I grown up a Dodger fan, sorry, I'm a Mets fan. You guys all know this, but Dodger Stadium is my home park, right? I've been to literally hundreds at this point of games at Dodger Stadium. But because I'm not a huge Dodger fan, I never went out to Lake Elsinore or the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes or the Las Vegas 51s or any of these other minor league teams to watch our young guys play. I went there because Clayton Kershaw was on a rehab start. I didn't go there to go see Will Smith play as a 17, 18, 19-year-old or whatever. This is what we get to do here at Cal State Fullerton, Titan Stadium. We get to watch the young guys before they're the seasoned professionals who are starting to put goals into the back of the net. It is so much fun to watch these young kids play. And look, you can hang out with 500 of your closest best friends. We want to make it 5,000 of our closest best friends by the end of the season if we could, especially in our inaugural game against Los Gros. But either way, make sure you get out to an LAFC 2 match. I'm going to get off my soapbox. Timothy Tillman picking up a yellow card in the 70th minute. He was playing a little keepy-uppy or keep away or something with that ball for a little bit and got into a little HR shoving stuff happening there between Timothy Tillman and a couple of the SKC guys. He kind of earned the yellow. That was a little uncalled for. Man, one of my favorite moments in the match was that weenie Alan Polito getting absolutely crunched by Danilo Maldonado in the air. I just can't. It's got to be hard, right? Because he was a really, really good player for El Tri and was really supposed to be fun coming into Major League Soccer. And he's been a poor man's Chicharito, unfortunately, with how much time he spends whining and lying on the ground and time wasting.
Chicharito right now is a poor man's Chicharito.
So, Danilo Maldonado goes up and just crunches the heck out of Alan Pulido. And then 3 or 4 minutes later, he's able to drag himself up off the ground. Come on, get up. You're fine. I'm going to punt to you on this, my friend, in the 77th minute after Bogusz gets a shot from distance. I'll let you talk about the LAFC 2 guy coming in for one Denny Bouanga.
Nathan Ordaz, he continues to impress the heck out of me. The cojones on this kid, in particular in that game against Monterey Bay, he had no problem pissing off all the Monterey Bay FC players. And I like that about him. He played with a little bit of hot sauce behind his game. He comes in for, boom, shocking, Denny Bouanga. What? I thought we were going to try to go out there and win this game. But Nathan Ordaz, he's a kid who's got a lot of intestinal fortitude, a kid who makes things happen, a kid who is not, he plays like a veteran. He doesn't play like he's a child. But if you're looking on the pitch, you got Stipe, you've got Bogusz, you've got Dueñas, you've got Ordaz, you've got, who am I missing here?
You're talking about young guys?
Yeah. Who am I missing?
Yakupovic.
the elder statesman, the old fox, Uncle Eldon, who, by the way, he saved our behinds in injury time. But you got almost half of the lineup who can't legally walk into a bar. And I like that at that point because the energy changed. Sporting Kansas City was not going to keep up with these young guys. So Nathan Ordaz, he's a kid to look out for. And he started making plays happen relatively quickly in his entry into the game.
Yeah, man. Cheeky Palacios finds him on a header. Unfortunately, he's just not a big guy. He didn't quite get up as high, so his header kind of got blocked a little bit, easily corralled there by Kendall. But I mean, shoot, they're running plays for the guy 3 minutes in as the pass from Cheeky. And look, Johnny Russell comes out, and it's a scarf substitution. Johnny Russell comes out in the 83rd minute. 85th minute, Philly. It would have been a hockey assist for Nathan Ordaz. It would have been a hockey assist. I would love to see what does MLS have, that like end of the week recap show, whether it was offside or not, whether it was a foul or not, whether it was a PK or not. We are absolutely going to see this one on that show. Mateusz Bogusz with, what was it? Maybe a shoulder blade, an ear hole. Like, I don't even know what was offside, but it wasn't a whole lot of Mati Bogusz. There's not a whole lot of Mati Bogusz to begin with, although he is a tall dude. But Ryan Hollingshead putting the ball into the back of the net after a beautiful set of passes. Mati Bogusz finding Ryan Hollingshead. The place went nuts for about 30 seconds.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Like, when we looked at the replay, it kind of looked like it could have been it. But when Steve was talking during the press conference, what he saw, the angle that he saw, he said there's no way that was offside. So, and he alluded to this as well himself. It's crazy that in today's day and age, with the technology that we have, that the LAFC coaching staff on the bench with their iPad cannot see the same thing that the VAR official and the referee is looking at. Why can't things be uniform? From one angle, maybe, but was it clear and obvious? That's the question. And this is where the problem comes in. We're relying on pretty rancid officiating to bail us out. No way. It just doesn't seem like anytime that they go to the video review that we get lucky. Maybe I've been jaded. Of course, we've been bailed out by them in the past. But when I've said throughout the past couple of years, you can't leave the game in the hands of the officials, this is what I'm talking about. It goes back to the first parts of the game before Sporting Kansas City equalized. You got to convert your opportunities. because they don't come all the time. LAFC was having a tough time getting through Sporting Kansas City's midfield directly, so they went over the top, and then that started succeeding. But they weren't converting on their opportunities, and that's why we find ourselves in this precarious position to rely on these stupid referees to look at technology that's not even consistent with what everybody else sees, and somehow it was clear and obvious that was offside. But then Steve doesn't see it. That's the problem. You got to keep the view and the angles uniform to where everybody can see it so everybody can understand what the case may be. Otherwise, you got to look over your shoulder as an official in the parking lot because you just might get your ass kicked for making stupid calls like that.
I mean, look, we are definitely not condoning anything happening in the parking lot of BMO Stadium.
We are not. I am just being emotional.
Although the 3252 certainly let the pro referees know how they felt as they walked by as well. It was not quite Julie Ehrman from Angel City going out there and yelling at the officials herself, but man, it was definitely vociferous from the 3252 at 1:21 a.m. I'm pulling out vociferous. That's how you know I'm tired. Stoppage time. We got 7 minutes. We have 7 minutes of stoppage time, and Eric Duenas with a great cross that was just cleared away at the start of stoppage there, right about the 2nd minute. And then Alan Pulido doing his best to waste even more time as he subs off for Afrifa in the 3rd minute, which also became maybe almost the 4th minute for that sub. And Philly, really the last kind of precarious moment of the match. We almost brain farted away even the 1 point that we got. What was it, about the 5th minute or so of stoppage? They don't run a clock, and I forgot to start my timer. Just I don't know. I felt like we were passing it pretty nonchalantly through our back line. We tried to play it, back to Eldon and then back across. I don't know what the hell was going on with us there. But Eldon Jakubovic tested for the first time really all match, other than that one shot there in the 20th minute. Philly, break down what the heck happened there in was it the 5th minute of stoppage?
Eldon saved our rears. That would have been awful to walk out, especially with a goal getting called back, walking with 0 points and the first loss of the season in BMO Stadium to a team that, as we mentioned, we have not lost to since August of 2021. Eldon came up so stinking huge. A veteran play made by a veteran keeper, and if it wasn't for that play, we're having a completely different conversation right now. Yeah. We're feeling disappointed in the fact that we walked out with a tie. Can you imagine the voice and with the attitude we all would have walked out with if we would have given it up at the last second? Eldon, I know you listen to this podcast. We've had a conversation. Thank you.
Philly just knocked over his mic, by the way.
Thank you for that save. If it was not for you, we would have had a horrid Wednesday evening and a horrid time at BMO Stadium. I owe you a refreshment, my friend. Thank you for that tremendous save. And I got to stop punching this microphone.
Yeah, I don't know why you're so upset at the mic. Couple of opportunities at the end. We saw Ryan Hollingshead get some contact in the box, but you're not going to get that call right before the final whistle. Stipe just couldn't get on one, got on the other end of one, 6th or 7th minute or so of stoppage time. But really, that was all over but the shouting at that point. 1-1, LAFC and Sporting KC. And again, the unfortunate part is we dominated most of this match. Philly, breaking down the stats, I know we at least outpossessed them 55-45, and they didn't have a ton of opportunities throughout the course of the entire match, did Sporting Kansas City.
No, I mean, we had the lion's share of shots at 13 to their 7. We had 6 on target. You need to convert a little more than 1 out of 6. Sporting Kansas City with 3. You talked about the possession. We had way more passes than them, like by over 100, obviously, because we dominated possession. Our passing accuracy was much better than they were. Our fouls, and maybe you could attribute fatigue as a part of this. I mean, 15 to their 8, 3 yellow cards to their 1. It felt like we kept getting called offside, and yes, we did. We got called offside on 3 occasions. Then we had 5 opportunities as far as set pieces is concerned, with 5 corners to Sporting Kansas City's 3. So the opportunities were there. We certainly had the ability and the chances to go out there and go out ahead. But as I mentioned, the longer you leave this team in the game, the more confident they're going to be, the more they're going to play like it. But I will say that the younger players certainly ran the older Sporting Kansas City off the pitch. If we would have had 5-10 more minutes, maybe we would have walked out with that win, but we almost walked out with a loss if it had not been for the goalkeeping of the veteran Eldin Jakupovic. Thank you again, Eldin.
Unfortunately, if your aunt were a man, she'd be your uncle, and that didn't happen either. So we leave this match 1-1. Look, the silver lining is twofold, Philly. The first of which is that we didn't lose, right? First of which is that we didn't lose. The second silver lining we're going to touch on in just a second, because as we look at LAFC's place in the table, LAFC is still second in the West, but we do pick up a point on Seattle. So now it's just 23-22, second in the West behind Seattle, but we have not one, but two matches in hand on Seattle Sounders. And in the race for the Shield, Cincinnati, 27 points, 24 for New England, and of course then 23 for Seattle. So we are fourth, but we are second in all of MLS, tied for second anyway, on points per match with 2 behind Cincinnati's 2.25. I mentioned the one silver lining, Philly, is that we didn't lose because we got a tie. But Philly, if we got a tie, that means Sporting Kansas City has a tie. And I know you want to mention that because it had a little change on the standings in not just the Western Conference, but in the other side of the Supporter Shield race.
I do have, after I mentioned that, a couple other things that I want to highlight that we should be proud of. But if you feel disappointed that we're walking out with the tie, that tie, and as a result of their piss poor performance against Columbus, the Galaxy are a last place team right now. The official grippers on of the wooden spoon.
Wait, Philly, do you mean last place in the West out of just 14 teams?
Last place, period. I'll tell you what. You revel in the destruction of your rivals. I could care less if they completely fold. No, we need the Galaxy. Like, what can I say? Every good story needs a villain. There certainly are villain. But if there is that silver lining, is the fact that we tied, that pushed them to last place in the standings. And if anything, that should make all of the millions
and millions
a little bit happier knowing that, our rivals are in last place. That's the silver lining. But a couple of cool highlights. Danny Bouanga scores his 10th goal. 10th goal of the season. We still remain undefeated at home. 4-0-1, where we've collected 13 points out of a possible 15. Pretty cool. At BMO Stadium, we've outscored our opponents 13-4 during 5 regular season matchups, and now 20-6 in all competitions. And with just over a third of the season played, like you said, only us, FC Cincinnati, and the Rev are averaging 2 points per game. So hopefully that helps make you feel a little calmer, exercises the bitterness and the anxiousness and the animosity, because it certainly helped make me feel better going through these things as we're going along. Revel in the fact that the Galaxy are in last place and that they're eating themselves alive. I'm totally cool with that. That puts a smile on my face. But we're undefeated at home, en route to becoming eventually the best in the West.
And the best in MLS.
Exactly.
Look, we've got scheduling with the Scarf, but we're going to have Schadenfreude with Philly in a little bit if we keep talking about all that stuff. That's fun. I like it. We get revel in the misery of our enemies, right? Look, this was the second of what will be 4 matches in 11 days. 4 matches in 11 days. In just 3 days, San Jose comes to BMO on Saturday, May 20th. 3 days later, don't worry, we got every 3 days. We're just going to play games at this point. Tuesday, May 23rd is an interesting one. Carson comes calling to BMO in the U.S. Open Cup round of 16. I've already expressed my thoughts on this. We wouldn't even be having the conversation if we had drawn RSL or Colorado. My thoughts are very simple. We got there to the round of 16 by playing a match with some young kids and then some even younger kids and then Eldon. What I would love to do is to play some young kids and then the even younger kids and then Eldon. I have a feeling we're going to see a smattering, a sprinkling of some of our other LAFC players who don't normally get maybe all the minutes or a ton of starts. Obviously, instead of maybe Christian Torres, we might see a Mahalo Opoku get some minutes there. Maybe in the midfield, maybe instead of like some of the other players, we get an Eric Duenas, or we get a Danny Crisostomo getting some significant minutes. Not all LAFC2 guys maybe in this next match. But man, if we're going to do it, just go all in. Lean into it. Make it all LAFC2 again. Take the pressure off of the whole situation. I love the Open Cup. I've said it over and over again. But when the big tuna is literally just a week away, you know what? You got to make some sacrifices. I know Philly wants to break hearts, set trends, win all the trophies all the time. It's the greedy one spot I veer a little bit from. I just don't think we need to put the emphasis on this year's U.S. Open Cup because of this year's performance in the CONCACAF Champions League.
That's fair. I mean, we're going to do an Open Cup pod, and then I've got some thoughts in regards to ticketing situations that I kind of want to address just a little bit, but I'll save it for that. I don't really have too much more to say unless like you do, but I do have one thing I wanted to recite just to make sure that everybody feels good. I mean, do we have anything more to cover?
I want to feel good. Go ahead. Recite what you got to recite, my friend.
We talked about the silver linings. All right. We didn't lose to the last place team in Major League Soccer. We didn't even tie the last place team in Major League Soccer. That's kind of cool. And just remember this. Everything's fine. We still are the trailblazing MLS Cup raising, always competing, at home unbeaten. We ain't crying, SKC tying, goal scoring, rip roaring, styling and smiling, black and gold wearing. Hate on us because you can't stop swearing. Champions of this league and CCL finalists. And don't you forget it. Black and gold for life, baby. I hope that helps you smile and start your day or end it or whatever time of the day you're listening to this. And by the way, thank you for listening to this.
And you know how we like to end all these, including episode 250, which you just listened to right now, of the most LAFC podcast on earth. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.